and you've just been, not that you've tested positive, but if you've been in contact,
Yep.
you don't have to quarantine anymore, so long as you wear a mask.
What we're doing, because it served us well, we're just going to do what we always did, even though the CDC has changed some guidelines.
We're going longer than 30 seconds.
Particularly through this month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we are live. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year to our viewing audience. Welcome to the special committee meeting of the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee. My name is Councilman TJ Clark. I serve as the council's majority leader and co-chair of this committee, and we are joined by Council President Mally D. Rosado, who is our co-chair. Councilman John Gale, who is a voting member, Councilwoman Shirley Surgeon, who is also a voting member, Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti, Councilman James Sanchez, and we are joined also too by our staffer, David Grant, and members of the Mayor's Administration, our Corporation Counsel, Attorney Howard Rifkin, our Chief Financial Officer, Jen Hockenhall, and our Assistant Director of Human Resources, Deb Carabillo. And also we are joined by way of Hartford Public Access TV, where you can view us on Channel 96, on Comcast Xfinity, also on HPA-TV.org, Facebook, as well as Frontier. And I just wanted to selfishly say happy Founders Day to all my brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. This is our, if you can see my paraphernalia today, and I got to wear our proud crimson and cream to mark our 111th anniversary of achievement in every field of human endeavor. And also too, we have just been joined by our Councilman Nick LeBron, who was not a voting member. Today, we only have one item for the special committee meeting, which is, let me just pull this back up. And I'm sorry, Alexander Lombardi. I'm so sorry. You're right in front of my face. Forgive me, it's been a long day. Our Deputy Corporation Counsel, who's always been a great partner in this for the council. Thank you for joining us as well. One item, which is 2.1, which is to discuss the tentative HPA agreement between HPA and the city of Hartford. And so we have Jen Hockenhall and Deb Carabillo and probably Alexandra that will provide us with a presentation of the contents of this agreement. So either one of you take it away.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilman Clark. Good evening, council members. I look forward to meeting you in person, maybe in 2022. That would be wonderful. It's so good to see you all. I will briefly give an overview of this contract. There isn't a lot going on in it. And then, if there are specific questions, Alex and Deb are also here to answer questions. So they work very closely on this contract. So the contract in front of you is for 2 years. It would retro back to July 1st of 2021. It includes a 3% GWI effective July 1st of 2021, and then a 0% for July 1st of 2022. It covers approximately 170 budgeted positions at a cost of around $373,000. That's assuming all the positions are filled. So that's assuming all 170 positions would have a person in them. And the fiscal year 2022 budget that was passed actually included an assumed 1.5% raise in it, or a 1.5% GWI in it for these members. So the only unbudgeted portion of this is approximately $175,000. With the current vacancies that we have in not only HPA, but other positions throughout the city, we feel that $175,000 would be covered by the end of the year. So we don't believe that we'd have to come back and ask for any additional appropriations to cover that. This contract includes steps continuing, so there's no new steps, but the steps will continue. They will not stop. Vacation, there was only a small change to the vacation, and that would just be that members are able to carry over an additional 5 days, although those days would not be paid out upon termination, if there's termination within the year. And there was a small change to the sick leave donations, which just decreased the required bank in order to donate. So, folks would be able to have less in their bank to donate if someone needed a sick leave donation. And those were the significant changes in dollars to this contract this time around. The other changes seem to just be language cleanup from the last contract. So with that, that's my presentation.
Thank you, Jen, for that presentation. I didn't, unless I missed it, I didn't hear anything about insurance. How is our insurance looking? Are they keeping is the city going to keep the same insurance, and how does that actually affect this contract?
Yes, I don't believe that there are any changes to the insurance from the last contract, but Deb, if there are, if you want to chime in.
No, you're correct. There's no changes. There still would be under the HDHP. They do have an option to buy up to the PPO or the Blue Care for 1 year. And they're at 21%, and we did not increase that amount. We kept it at 21%.
Is Blue Care through Anthem, or is it through Cigna?
They're all through Cigna.
Okay. And that includes dental as well?
That is correct.
You said, so 21% is the employee contribution?
Toward the premium, so it's toward the monthly premium. They contribute 21% of the premium on a monthly basis.
Okay. Is any of this tied to any changes to like the pension contribution? Do they have to contribute more, or that remains level funded? Sorry, the level contribution.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. I apologize.
The pension contribution, is there an increase to the pension contribution for the contract?
No, not this time around. There were increases the last time to each of the tiers. This time there is no increase. I believe they're at 12.8% for one of the tiers and 11% for the other tiers, or somewhere around there.
Gotcha. And so this is the Management Supervisors Union. How many vacancies actually exist again?
That I'll defer to Jen.
At the time I did the analysis back in November, we had approximately 35 vacancies out of 170, roughly.
Not bad. And and this is my last question, I don't want to hog the time. How aggressive are we in trying to fill these vacancies, whether it is a promotion internally or through external advertisement to get bodies into these positions?
We are constantly trying to get people into these positions. We've also looked at some of our job descriptions and have gone to the unions to see if we can make adjustments so that we could get otherwise qualified people in. We are looking at different advertising options. So we are aggressively doing it. Unfortunately, this is a really difficult time getting applicants to even apply. And then sometimes when we do get them, they either decline or they come on board and then they leave for something that they deem to be better. But we have lots of vacancies throughout the city, and we're aggressively trying to get those filled in HR.
Okay, thank you. Great brick wall in your background, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I like that exposed brick. All right, I do have more questions, but I will defer to any of my colleagues that have questions for the administration. I knew it was coming. I was waiting for your hand. Councilman Gill.
Just to pick up on your, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to pick up on your last question, and to show my ignorance, can you just describe? We're talking about 130, 140 positions, 170 positions. Where these positions are located throughout the city?
All right, do you want to jump in there?
It's up to you. I didn't know if you had the
Go
breakdown
ahead.
right
I have
there,
it on a sheet, but I'll have to read it. So go ahead.
I can't give you the exact numbers, but they are pretty much spaced through the entire city. I would say the least amount is probably in fire and police, though they do still have some HMEA members. We have several HMEA members in the Public Works Department, in DDS, finance, good chunk of people in finance. There are some in the grants division is made up of all HMEA members except for the division director. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting a major department that has HMEA. We have a couple in our office and none in Corporation Council, and trying to think where else. I would say the biggest ones are DDS, finance, and public works.
So kicking with DDS for a second, and again, I'm showing my ignorance here. Does this contract essentially set the pay scale for every single one of these employees such that there's no ability for any director to change the pay scale when hiring?
That is correct. They're all under union contracts, so we cannot direct deal with employees regarding any of their salary or benefits or working conditions. We have to go through the union and what's outlined in the union contract.
So if we, you mentioned the difficulty of hiring, and it sounds to me like part of the difficulty in hiring is that we're not competitive. And I know we faced this with the police department already, and I know that probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a sense that we've got a ton of vacancies in DDS or development services. And we had our planning director here earlier tonight at a previous committee meeting, and I know they've gotten a lot of vacancies, and I have a sense that that's a department where they've hired or looked to hire and have been unsuccessful, or people have come and gone quickly. Is the only mechanism for addressing that going back to this contract?
Councilman Gale, it's not just going back to this contract, but so it's true that in order to change the maximum or minimum salary for any job classification, you do have to negotiate that. But the city is always assessing whether the reason that we're having trouble hiring is because of the maximum pay scales or other reasons, such as, perhaps our minimum qualifications are too high. Is there something else about the working conditions that people are finding, opportunities elsewhere that they think are better because of that working condition. So it's not always a matter of just the salary, but certainly when we're having an issue filling a position, we do look at the maximum minimum, and we can always go to a union in the midterm. We don't have to wait for a contract to expire to say, hey, we're having trouble recruiting. We're seeing an issue, with this particular job classification. Here are the comps, and we want to make a change. And that is a two-way street. The unions come to us for asks in the midterm too, and that's certainly not unprecedented.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I have a question, Chair. So could you perhaps tell me where else does the City of Hartford post jobs? I'm in the City of Hartford website right now, and I only see 10 positions posted.
I don't do civil service all the time, so I would have to double check. But I know that they're posted on our website for one, and they're supposed to be posted in all the departments. I know there was a list of organizations that we used to send postings to. I'm not sure if that list is still being utilized. I know that we're working on trying to put together different organizations and schools that we can send our postings to. We've been working with the department heads to find out if there's any organizations that we can send our job postings to when we hire for their particular departments. I do know that all of those particular action items are being discussed and looked at currently right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also have another question. So when I look at this, it says that it's going to be practiced back to July 1st, 2021. So when wondering if this goes through. How are those checks generated? Is it a lump sum from July to now? Is it a separate check? Is it combined with their current paycheck?
It really depends. HR department will have to work with the departments to calculate the retros for each of the individuals, which will take some time to do. And those will be verified by the payroll department. Once those are verified, then if it's a biweekly period, payroll normally runs them with the normal paycheck, which means they would be included in their check for that pay period. If it's an off week, payroll will cut a supplemental check. But that's under payroll and the treasurer's office purview. We do the calculations and then we send them over to payroll.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Council President, any questions from my council colleagues? Councilwoman Surgeon.
Thank you, sir. I was waiting to see if you'll see my hands up.
I saw the little icon in the corner. It's like you're taking the oath again.
Hey, okay. Lord. Thank you so very much for the presentation and for you having this special committee meeting. John, don't feel bad. My ignorance is worse than yours as far as contractual and this union stuff. So please bear with me if I ask some dumb, stupid questions, because this is like a learning process for me. Couple of things I did. When you talked with Councilman Clark, had asked about employee contribution, you said 21%, but when I looked at your page 13, it says employers contribute 50%. So that is one question for you.
Sure. The 50% is what the employer contributes to the health savings account, which is a banking account attached to the high deductible health care plan. So that is separate and distinct. Each month, like if we were to purchase health insurance on the private market, we get a bill monthly as what that premium cost. And let's say it's $400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
The employee would pay 21% of that 400, and then the city of Hartford picks up the remainder of the cost. So that's the premium that we were discussing earlier.
Okay, because when you said 21 and 50%, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they are two different things and it gets confusing.
No, it's not confusing for you guys, but for me, it's like, you know,
I've been in the business for a long, long time, so.
This is like Chinese for me, okay? Then in there, on your page 114, I had this highlighted and I can't remember when I read it, what my question was, but it didn't make sense to me. Does the city have a comptroller position? Who is that? I didn't know. Yeah.
The controller is Kim Campagna.
Okay, I never knew the city had one. See, I learned something new. Okay. And so are you saying then now that the controller position, the procurement manager and the tax collector are not part of this contract now?
No, they are part of this contract.
So it says been taken off the table. I don't, and it's not negotiated. I don't, could you explain that to me?
Yep, sure. So there were a couple of positions that the union put in a proposal for to increase the salary, and there was a proposal that the city put on to increase the salary. So one of the city's proposals was to increase the controller's salary because based on our research, it wasn't competitive. And also because it's a division director, we thought it should be more in line with other division directors in the finance department, which procurement manager and the tax collector are also division directors. So we were seeking to put the controller in that salary band. Similarly, HMEA was seeking to increase the salaries of Inspector 2 and I believe it was the Emergency Services Dispatcher Supervisor. And so what we agreed to do so that we could get this contract settled is that we agreed that we would take those items offline And once this contract was ratified, if it was ratified, that we would have separate discussions regarding increasing those particular salaries for those particular positions.
Okay, so all right, so that cover sheet on page 1 kind of took that off, or maybe further discussion for further offline and not part of. So then does this position also get the 3% increase or not?
Yes, they do.
So what exactly were these positions looking for then? Is it more health? They're looking for benefits or?
No, they were looking on Hamia's, for the positions that Hamia put through, they were looking for 10% additional pay increase on top of the 3% is my recollection. I don't have their proposal directly in front of me, but that's my recollection. And for us, for the controller, we were just looking to move it from its current band, which I think is a maximum salary of 98, and to move it in the same band as the tax collector and the procurement manager, which has a higher salary and it's a min-max position. So we were looking to move that position into that salary band.
Great. And you said also, is there a nursing series? Is that part of the school or part of us?
It is part of us, not part of the school. The school has its own union, I believe, for the nurses.
Oh, so our City of Hartford has nurses also?
We do have nurses, yes, in the Health and Human Services Department. We have a hand.
Okay, so they are part of the AMIA, or they will be part, or will be.
Some of them are HMIA. I believe there's a public health nurse that is part of HPA.
Okay.
And we recently increased that salary through that contract that went before you maybe 2 to 3 months ago.
Okay, I'm learning all this now. This is great. Thank you, because that was very complicated there. Thank you for breaking it down very simply for me. When you do your union agreements and the min-max, is when a new person comes in, do they have to start with step 1, or can it be negotiated? They may want to start with step 3 as an opportunity to, comparative salary to maintain employees?
Under the municipal code, there is a provision that says if there is a lack of eligibles for the particular classification that we're hiring, or if the applicant coming in has extraordinary qualifications, that the department head can make a request to the human resources director to start the employee at a higher salary. And that request comes in to HR director, and it gets approved by the mayor's leadership team and the mayor, and either gets approved or adjusted. So there is some flexibility to hire at the higher step.
Great. And just from the top of your head, in the last couple of years, how many of these requests have come in to you?
Numerous.
How many have you approved?
The majority.
Okay. So you do have an opportunity to actually, to get an employee to stay with us. There is an opportunity to actually, I wouldn't use the word bargain, but the different steps beginning if this is an exceptional employee or you would like to really hire this person.
Yes, there are.
And is that information it's probably not a prevalent information, but is there some way that can be put in advertisement or even an advertisement, as a way to encourage us attracting more employees, people want to work with us and for the city? Because most of the time when I apply for a job, it would say you will begin in step 1. And is there an asterisk by it? Anything, you know what I'm asking?
Yeah,
I think.
Yep. I think we only provide the range. I don't think we say it starts at step 1. Okay. So people generally ask us anyways if there's flexibility. Gotcha. Almost always they ask us. So we don't say it starts at base 1. We put the entire range, the lowest and the highest, so that they know what it is.
But so basically an employer probably would assume that you would start at the minimum.
That hasn't been our experience, but yes, you could assume that.
Okay. Well, I just want to, pursuant to this, the potential negotiation and approval, I would say whoever was who's around the bargaining table, not sure if it was one of the attorneys or not, but getting a 3%, increase, that's pretty, whoever did this, you got away with, for over 2 years. That is not, that's pretty hard bargaining, I would say, looking at this. So thank you so very much for your patience with me and explaining that information.
Anytime you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Surgeon. And I believe our, going back to the title, the position of comptroller, I believe our director of finance used to be the comptroller for the city, correct?
You are correct.
Yes. Oh, that's, see?
See?
Okay, I didn't know who that was. I didn't know we had one. The state has a comptroller, but the city has one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and this is the new person who's a comptroller? Who's that now?
Kim Capania.
Okay. All right, thank you so very much. Thanks for explaining that, TJ. I didn't think we had one.
That's what we're here for, Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. So my first question is, the city clerk's office, is there any HPA members there?
There are.
You know how many?
Yes. Maybe 4 or 5, could be a little bit more.
All right. And then as far as the contract, I'm not sure if Councilwoman Surgeon asked this question, but I'm having a hard time hearing. As far as the contract, in the HPA, there's approximately 140 active employees. You said 30 are vacant. What's the percentage of employees that voted for this contract, for this agreement?
We don't have that information.
Okay, so do you know if it's more than 50% approximately, or no one?
We have no idea.
Okay, and then my last question: when is the last time the job description has been updated or reevaluated?
We try to look at them when we're hiring, and we haven't done a global update of all the job descriptions in a while. I know the city tried to a couple of times, had studies done, and then they had to go and negotiate with the unions, and they were never implemented. But I know that we have taken individual job descriptions to the unions. We have a couple right now sitting with HPA asking for updates, and we're waiting for them to get back to us. And then, like we said earlier, there were a couple of we agreed to take offline after negotiations and discuss as well.
So with the reason why I asked this is because if in today's day and age, I believe there's more work added to the place of these employees. And if their job description is updated, that can justify why they would receive a better pay and possibly, hopefully hiring more folks to get on board to work for the city of Hartford. Why was it canceled? Why did we not complete that or start that upgrade reevaluation?
You mean the other studies that were completed?
No, the ones that weren't. You said it's been a while, and that was in the plans, right? To reevaluate the job description, the positions.
We don't have the capacity downstairs in HR to look at all of the job descriptions. That's a really huge job, and it has to be negotiated with the unions because the minimum qualifications under the state statute need to be bargained for. The HR department just hasn't had the staff to take on that type of task at this particular time.
And is it possible that we can hire a contractor to do this, which is probably the norm?
That's what I was mentioning, is that the city did do that in the past. It was before my time, but then when they went to try to negotiate it with the unions, they were unsuccessful in getting those changes implemented.
Okay.
So yeah, the short answer is yes, it can be done. But then we would still have to go to each of the unions and negotiate those changes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Sanchez, for your questions. any other of my colleagues? Councilman Gill, yes.
Yeah, one just quick follow-up to that, that last set of questions. Deb, do you know why, what was the sticking point in getting agreement on changing these job descriptions?
I unfortunately do not. It was before I came to the city of Hartford. I just know that there was several large boxes that I found one time, and I asked the question as to what this was, and they said, oh, this was a study that the city spent X amount of dollars on, and it didn't go anywhere because the unions wouldn't agree to the changes. I'm imagining it's probably a little bit of money. Maybe the city couldn't give as much money as the unions were seeking, but I don't know for certain. I wasn't here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Gill, for your follow-up. Any other questions? None? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve this, to send this back to council for us to vote on. Do I have any takers?
So moved. So moved.
All right. All right.
Okay.
All right.
We were on mute.
That's all right. I heard Councilman. I heard Councilman, I would say Gail first. You gotta get a second, Councilwoman Surgeon?
Yes, sir.
All right, it's been seconded by Councilwoman Surgeon to move this back to council for the favorable recommendation for our, will be our committee meeting, sorry, council meeting on Monday, January 10th. All in favor of this motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Any nays, any abstentions? Hearing none, seeing none, the ayes have it. So this item is now passed. Thank you very much for this special committee meeting. We do appreciate your time that you have taken out to be with us to pass this piece of policy. So if there's nothing else to discuss, thank you all very much for your time. Please continue to stay safe. Yes, Councilman Sanchez. Oh, nothing?
I was just waving good night.
Good. You were jumping ahead
Everyone.
Yes, please continue to stay safe and mask up, sanitize your hands, and please, protect yourself because we are in all this together. So until next time, bid you farewell. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.